In 2014, Elizabeth Holmes was hailed as the next Steve Jobs. Her company Theranos valued at $9 billion. The common story is that Theranos failed because the technology was impossible. But the real failure was a single deliberate lie. A lie that fooled the world's smartest investors. That lie was born in a pivotal demo for investors. Holmes claimed her mini-lab device could run hundreds of tests from a single drop of blood. But the machine on the table was a facade. Inside, it was a modified commercial analyzer, hidden behind a custom shell. This single deception convinced the world's savviest investors, Rupert Murdoch, the Walton family, to pour in over $700 million. They believed they were funding the future of medicine. In reality, they had bought a lie. Why did no one stop it? Because the vision was so compelling, the founder so convincing, that investors saw only what they wanted to see. Holmes painted a world transformed by a single drop of blood. And they believed, ignoring red flags that would have stopped any other startup. Holmes promised a device, the Edison, that could run hundreds of tests from a single finger prick. She cultivated a Steve Jobs persona. Black turtlenecks, deep voice, unwavering confidence. The media anointed her the next Steve Jobs, and the hype built its own momentum. But the lie was planted from the start. The Edison never worked as advertised, yet Holmes insisted it did, and the vision was so seductive that few dared to question it. The stage was set for a deception that would unravel years later. So why did no one stop Theranos before it was too late? The answer lies in a single demonstration, a carefully staged performance that convinced the world's most sophisticated investors to pour millions into a machine that never worked. That demo was the linchpin of the entire deception. In 2013, Elizabeth Holmes invited potential investors to a private demo in Palo Alto. She presented the Mini-Lab, a sleek white device the size of a desktop printer, and claimed it could run dozens of tests from a single drop of blood. But the machine on the table was a shell. Inside, it contained a modified commercial Siemens analyzer. The ruse worked. Rupert Murdoch, who would later invest over $120 million, was shown a flawless demonstration. The machine appeared to run multiple tests in minutes. What he didn't see was the team of engineers swapping out the commercial analyzer between demos, resetting the illusion. By the end of 2013, Theranos had secured a partnership with Walgreens, opening patient centers in 40 stores. The deal was based entirely on that single demo. As one former employee later testified, they were using a proprietary device that didn't work, and they knew it. How far did that single lie carry Theranos? By 2014, the company was valued at $9 billion, a staggering sum for a startup whose technology barely worked. Holmes was named the world's youngest self-made female billionaire, her fortune estimated at $4.5 billion. Yet the valuation was built on sand. But here's the catch. That valuation was built on a product that didn't exist. Theranos had raised over $700 million from investors like Rupert Murdoch and the Walton family. Yet its vaunted mini-lab could only perform a fraction of the tests it claimed. The rest were run on modified commercial analyzers, hidden inside the same sleek casings. The numbers tell the story. Theranos claimed its device could run over 200 tests from a finger prick of blood. In reality, only 12 tests ever worked reliably. The company's own lab director, Adam Rosendorf, testified that the results were clinically unreliable. Yet the lie persisted, because the illusion was more valuable than the truth, and that's exactly why the demo lie was so crucial. It wasn't just a single deception, it was the foundation of a $9 billion mirage. Investors didn't see the modified analyzers or the failed tests. They saw a charismatic founder and a sleek white box that promised to change the world. And they believed. Because they wanted to believe. So why did nobody stop it? The answer is chilling. The failure was never technical. Holmes didn't try and fail. She chose to fake it rather than fail. The lie itself became the product, and the company was built on a foundation of deliberate deception. Former employees testified that Holmes explicitly prioritized the appearance of progress over actual results. When the technology failed, she didn't pivot. She doubled down on the illusion, ordering engineers to build fake demos. This was not a startup that stumbled. It was a fraud by design. At its peak, Theranos raised $700 million at a $9 billion valuation, yet only 12 tests worked. The gap between hype and reality was the product. Why did nobody stop it? The answer lies in the courage of a few insiders who dared to speak out. In 2013, a young lab employee named Erica Cheung noticed that Theranos was running patient samples on modified commercial analyzers, not the revolutionary Edison device. Cheung reported her concerns to the lab director and later to federal regulators. But Theranos fought back, threatening lawsuits and silencing employees with non-disclosure agreements. The company's culture of secrecy made whistleblowing a dangerous act. But the truth could not be contained forever. In 2015, Wall Street Journal reporter John Carreyrou began investigating, armed with tips from former employees. He uncovered the same lie that had fooled investors. The mini-lab was a facade, and the company was a fraud. Carreyrou's exposé triggered a cascade of consequences. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services banned Holmes from operating labs. Walgreens terminated its partnership. By 2018, Theranos dissolved, and its $9 billion valuation evaporated. The lie had finally caught up. So in January 2022, a jury convicted Elizabeth Holmes of defrauding investors. The verdict was clear. The lie that built a $9 billion empire was not a mistake. It was a crime. She was sentenced to over 11 years in prison, and Sunny Balwani received 13 years for his role. Theranos dissolved in 2018, its $9 billion valuation reduced to nothing. But the cost went beyond money. Patients received unreliable test results, investors lost millions, and trust in innovation was damaged. The company's failure was not technical. It was moral. But Holmes's influence extended beyond investors. She cultivated an almost cult-like following among employees who were required to sign strict NDAs and work in a culture of fear. Questioning the technology was not just discouraged, it was punished. Holmes also assembled a board of directors filled with political heavyweights like Henry Kissinger and James Mattis. Their presence lent credibility, making it harder for skeptics to question the company's claims. The board rarely met and had limited oversight. The media played a key role too. Holmes graced the covers of Forbes, Fortune, and Inc., each story amplifying the myth. In 2015, The New Yorker profiled her as a visionary. The coverage created an echo chamber where praise drowned out doubt. And when patients received test results, they were often fabricated. A former employee revealed that Theranos would report normal values even when the machine failed because the doctor just needs a number. Patients were given false diagnoses or missed real conditions. Erica Cheung, the whistleblower, faced harassment and legal threats after reporting Theranos to regulators. She lost her job and struggled to find work in the industry. Her courage came at a personal cost, but her actions helped expose the truth. In 2016, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services conducted a surprise inspection of Theranos's lab. They found dozens of deficiencies, including inaccurate test results and improper handling of samples. The agency threatened to revoke the lab's license. During the trial, prosecutors presented evidence that Holmes knew the technology didn't work, but continued to mislead investors and patients. Her defense claimed she was a passionate entrepreneur who believed in her vision. The jury sided with the victims. The Theranos story is a warning. When hype replaces proof, belief can become a dangerous illusion. The next time you hear a too-good-to-be-true promise, remember the lie that fooled Silicon Valley. Demand evidence, not charisma. Because the truth always catches up, and when it does, the cost is enormous.